Welcome in to Steelers Talk Yinzers. I am your host, Jack Sperry. And on today's show, I am answering your questions on the black and gold. Really looking forward to getting things going here on today's show. Starting with Now Webb's World with a $10 super chat who says, still recovering from buying 3 suits. Missed the first half of the show, but I have a question. What would be more detrimental to Pittsburgh winning the AFC? Watson returning to Pro Bowl status or Nuke to Kansas City? Now, both of these would be very detrimental because this makes the Kansas City Chiefs, last year's Super Bowl champions, even more dangerous because you got Travis Kelce, arguably the best receiving tight end of all time, mixed with DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. I just don't know how you guard that with Patrick Mahomes throwing them the football. But then if Deshaun Watson, who was easily an MVP candidate back in 2020 with the Texans, where he was carrying that team, now that he's got a good offensive line, good run game, decent receivers, a pretty decent defense as well. The Browns could be really, really good if Deshaun Watson returns to that 2020 form. Which one is more likely? I would probably say Nuke to Kansas. Well, I don't think Kansas City's even interested in DeAndre Hopkins, so I don't think that's going to happen. So I would say that the Watson thing in Cleveland would be more likely, but, I'm looking at this situation, and I'm still feeling pretty good about where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand in the AFC North, okay? In a division where it's going to be bloodbath after bloodbath in those divisional games. I trust Mike Tomlin and the Steelers that Omar Khan has assembled here to really get the job done and win those dogfights. I have 100% confidence here in the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers, do me a favor here and click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. It's a free and easy way to help out the channel. So if you're a real one and you want to show some love to us here at Steelers Talk, do me a favor, click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. Then we got a $5 super chat here from Mo Love who says, how's TJ Watt? Is he 100% going into these camps? Everything that I'm hearing is saying, yes, he is 100% ready to go, ready to have a great bounce back season after, of course, he gets hurt in week 1 versus the Bengals. He comes back many weeks later and he just doesn't look the same after that. Now, he was still very effective. But it wasn't the TJ Watt that had 22.5 sacks and won Defensive Player of the Year back in 2021. I expect him to get to more of that 2021 form here next season. I think he's a fantastic player. He's one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League, and I absolutely think he's going to get back to that status this year and maybe even win himself another Defensive Player of the Year trophy. Another question here from Now Webb's World with a $5 super chat this time saying, you drinking the Chase Young Kool-Aid? Me personally, I bank on Alex because Washington would want a sizable haul. Now, Webb's World, I 100% agree with you. On an earlier segment on the Steelers Talk Live show, I talked about how I do not want the Steelers to trade for Chase Young whatsoever. I'd much rather spend that money on Alex Highsmith. I think he's a better player now. I think he could be a better player in the future, and he's somebody that has experience in this defense and we know works in this defense. So I don't know why Omar Khan would screw that up by giving away a high draft pick for somebody that's really unproven in this point in his NFL career. To me personally, I really think that Alex Highsmith is the answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers as their number 2 edge rusher. So you be the GM here. Would you trade a second rounder for Chase Young? Give me a yes or give me a no here in the comment section. Can't wait to see how you guys are feeling about Chase Young. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So whenever you get an ad break here, do me a favor by answer today's question with a yes or no down there in the comment section. We got a $20 super chat here from Brian Love saying Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan are doing some amazing things in the personnel department. How are we feeling about Nick Kwiatkowski? So I think Kwiatkowski is more of a depth piece. Will he make the roster? I'm not too sure. We'll have to see on how he plays during training camp, how he ingratiates himself to Mike Tomlin and this coaching staff, and how he plays in the preseason. But I'm very excited about Kwiatkowski's future and this signing overall. He's also going to play a little bit of special teams for you. So I think Kwiatkowski is a decent pickup. It's not the sexy splash that some Steelers fans were expecting, but you bring him in here. I think you like Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts and Mark Robinson as your top 3 guys. But if you're going to be carrying 4 or 5 linebackers here, Kwiatkowski has the opportunity here to prove that he can be that 4th or 5th linebacker on this depth chart. That's absolutely possible for a guy like Kwiatkowski moving forward. And I'm excited to see what he can do with the black and gold moving forward. Then we got a question from Jonathan Harvey here saying, how many games will it take for the offensive line to gel into a cohesive unit? And does putting in Broderick Jones change the dynamics if Dan Moore Jr. starts initially at left tackle? So it's definitely possible at this point because Dan Moore Jr. took every single snap, according to the Athletics' Mark Caboli, at left tackle during Steelers OTAs and minicamp, that he could potentially win that starting job by week 1, and Broderick Jones would be kind of eased into that role. Now, will that happen? I don't know. The pads haven't been on yet. It's going to take a couple of weeks for Mike Tomlin and crew to decide that. But if Dan Moore Jr. is starting at left tackle week 1, I'm perfectly okay with that. Okay, he's been a starter in this league. He played a lot better last year. And I think that he's a pretty darn good player, and he could potentially win that starting job this year. Then we got another question here from Dan, the Pitt fan. It says, will Broderick Jones win the starting left tackle spot by week 1? So pretty much the same question. I'm not too sure. It's going to depend on how he plays during training camp. If he plays really well, they're going to play him. He's a first-round pick. Once he is ready, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play him plain and simply. And then they might move Dan Moore Jr., if he's playing well, over to right tackle. But plain simply, when it comes to Broderick Jones, if you're trading up for a guy like that, once you feel he is ready, he is hitting the field. That is the way it works with the first-round rookie. So let me know who you think starts week 1 of the 2023 NFL season at left tackle when the Steelers play the San Francisco 49ers at Acrisure Stadium. Do you think it'll be Dan Moore Jr., type DM, or do you think it's going to be Broderick Jones, type BJ, down there in the comments? Then we got a question from Zeno here. He says, why is Mason given a chance last year, and why did you re-sign him to be your third-string quarterback? Why didn't Mason get a chance last year? I mean, I think it's because they believed in Trubisky more. You paid him, so you wanted to play him. And then after he was out, you go with Pickett, right? You go with the rookie. You see what you have. By the time Pickett was in the games, right, the Steelers' season was kind of shaky as it was already. And, there's a couple opportunities to start Mason over Rudolph, when Pickett was dealing with some of those concussions. But I think that at the end of the day, they just felt like they were paying Mitchell Trubisky more, and they thought he was the better option. Now, as for why they brought him back, I don't think Rudolph got many great offers from other places. And as far as emergency quarterbacks go, remember the NFL reinstilled the emergency quarterback rule here where you can have a quarterback on the sidelines just in case your first two guys get hurt. And I think as emergency quarterbacks go, he's pretty darn good. So although he's not a starting caliber player, we'd probably be a low-end backup at this point, to be completely frank with you. As far as emergency quarterbacks go, give me Mason Rudolph. I got a question from Derek Chance here. He says, so can JPJ be a legit CB1? 100% JPJ can get to that level, especially in this defense, which he is tailor-made for, okay? The long arms, the physicality that he plays with. That's Pittsburgh Steelers football. Okay, that's what Mike Tomlin loves to do. He loves to do bump and run. He likes to do cover 1, cover 3, where the cornerbacks are in press, and they're going to bully the opposing wide receivers. And Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, very good veteran options, while Joey Porter Jr. and Corey Trice Jr. kind of get themselves acquainted to NFL life. But I think over the next decade, Joey Porter Jr. is going to be known around the league as potentially one of the top 10 best corners in the National Football League, because I think he's a perfect fit for Mike Tomlin's defense here in the Steel City. Then we got Claude Bishop here, who asked, can the Steelers win the division? 100% they can. I think it's really going to come down to divisional play between these four teams, because it really is a gauntlet, right? Cincinnati is still really good. The Ravens got better in terms of their weaponry this offseason. You look at the Browns, they're definitely hoping Deshaun Watson in the second year with Cleveland can really do a good job. If those three things happen and all three of those teams are good, I still think the Steelers have a really good shot because they have an elite pass rush, a really good secondary, in my opinion. Kenny Pickett is going to be very efficient this year. Najee Harris is going to have a breakout year. And I think that in the AFC North, with all these tough physical games, that is what Pittsburgh Steelers football is all about. Mike Tomlin is going to have his guys ready. And even if all three of the other teams in this division are good this year, I still think the Steelers have a really good shot at coming away with that crown. Then we got a question from Alex Duncan, who says, how long do you give Kenny Pickett before you move on to someone else? That's a really good question, Alex. I think it's as early as this year. Okay, if Kenny Pickett is just absolutely terrible this season, right? He's just not good. He regresses. He's not good whatsoever. You win 3 or 4 games, and you're in position to take one of those top quarterbacks in next year's NFL draft. I think that that's an opportunity you have to take. You have to get rid of Matt Canada, bring in somebody else, right? And you maybe start new with a new quarterback. Now, I don't think I'd be keen to move off of Kenny Pickett, right? If he shows growth this year, if he shows good things on tape, and he shows that he could potentially be that franchise quarterback with maybe the right play caller, then I wouldn't let him go. Okay, but there is a world right now where if Kenny Pickett just absolutely plays terribly next season, I'm not going to be someone that's like, yeah, let's roll with Kenny Pickett, the guy that just had a terrible season at age 25. Yeah, let's roll with that guy. That's not what I want to do. I want to bring winners here to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Kenny Pickett needs to prove that he is a winner here in 2023. So what say you here? How many years are you giving Kenny Pickett before you are moving on to somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. For me, it's probably 3, but if he plays particularly poorly this year, I'm only going to give him 2 years, and I'm going to be moving on next offseason. New question here from Young Noticeable, who says, do you think Derek Watt will get picked up by the start of the season? I hope so. I love Derek. I think he's obviously a fan favorite. People love him, right? The Watt family is awesome. I hope he gets picked up somewhere, but at this point in like the offseason, it's certainly looking like that it's definitely not looking good on his part, but I guess we'll have to see. Not a whole lot of teams using fullbacks nowadays in the National Football League. Then we got a question from Mud Dog, who says, did Trubisky suffer from the early season offensive line and OC, restrictions on audibles, etc.? Maybe he played better than we thought. So I think Trubisky actually played better than a lot of Steelers fans try to claim that he played. He had that really, really bad game against the Baltimore Ravens that essentially cost the Steelers a playoff spot. And, you have to acknowledge that that game was absolutely terrible. But, you take a look at what was going on before all this stuff. He was just okay, right? He wasn't bad. Okay, I think he's probably a middle-of-the-road backup quarterback to this point. I don't think he's a starting capable quarterback or anything like that, but is he terrible? You can't trust him on the field if Kenny Pickett gets hurt? I don't think he's quite that bad. I think he's one of the better backups here in the National Football League. So if you are a real one and you want to show your support to our channel here at Steelers Talk for the content that we provide every single week, 100% free, go ahead and click that like button for me right now. Really do appreciate all the support. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Don't be that guy that watches every single video and doesn't click subscribe. Join our family here today. I promise you, you will not regret it. Go ahead and click that subscribe button for me right now.